more time. Beautiful, beautiful job. Thank you very much. Colin Mason, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's choose the road less stupid, where wisdom lights the way. Let's follow the path, walk straight ahead, each and every day.
I don't have that talent. You're welcome. Right? Nobody actually wants to see it. I don't know where Mike finds these things. Good morning. Welcome, everybody who isn't sick and is here. You might be sick. Welcome anyway. We love you. We're happy you're here. Those of you at home, hi. Sorry. We'll see you next week, I hope. But we're continuing this series, The Road Less Stupid, right? And it's a little bit of an interesting thing because when I was growing up, I was told, like, hey, you shouldn't call people stupid. I'm really tempted to say that talent anyway. So, there's just things about it. But here we are in church where I get to say this word over and over and over again. It's almost like I get to have that little bit of rebellion against my parents growing up. We're on the road less stupid, and the opposite of stupid would be smart or intelligent, or in this case, in the series we're talking about, it's going to be wisdom or wise, right? We're on a road to be wise. We're on a road to focus on wisdom rather than a road that leads to kind of dumb things. And so we've been going through this series. We've been really focusing in on the book of Proverbs. Sorry if this is going to keep cutting out. I'll grab another mic in a second. But we've been focusing on the book of Proverbs, and that Proverbs is just a collection of wisdoms that a guy named Solomon kind of put together. He grabbed them from all over the place. He had some that he incorporated into, but there was, wisdom you can find in a lot of places. Not everything that sounds wise is wise, but he collected these sayings. He put them in a book called Proverbs, and so we've been walking through that for this whole series. But for me, as I've been sitting in the chair listening to the other mic, so I'm a different mic, the other mic preaching on this series, I've had this scripture reference just running through my head this whole time. It's in one of my favorite letters that the Apostle Paul wrote, and it's to the church in Ephesus, and it says this in Ephesians 5:15. It says, so be careful how you live, right? Be careful how you live. Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise. Which seems kind of on the nose for this series, I admit, right? So if you can, because if you have a Bible, go ahead and pull that out. We're going to be going all over the place today. But turn to the person next to you and say to them, somewhat loudly and abruptly, but maybe not shouting, don't live like fools. Go ahead. Don't live like fools. Perfect. Now turn to your second choice and apologize. Say, I didn't mean that you're a fool. We're all in this together, guys. So whether or not the person you're sitting next to, you're like, well, I didn't say it to them first because they are living like a fool. There's nothing I can say about that. It doesn't matter. We're all fools at times in our lives. We all do dumb things. I often find myself on the road to stupid, so I would like to get on the road less stupid. But the thing was that Paul was writing this letter to this church in Ephesus. That's the name of the town that was there. And Ephesus, a town called Colossae, was very much... This will be good. All right, I'm going to grab it just in case. And eventually we'll give up on this one. Oh, don't get close to that. Okay. Anyway, I'll have this in my pocket. Okay, it's because I move a lot. It's not his fault. It's my fault. But the church in Ephesus and the church in Colossae were a lot like us today in that they were very eclectic. They were very cosmopolitan. There was a lot of stuff going on, and they really felt like they had it all figured out. That's the thing, they knew what was what. They looked around, they had the trends, they had the popular things. They were excited for all the things that they knew. And so Paul, in writing these letters to Colossians, and specifically in this case to the Ephesians, he's writing to them knowing the backdrop of kind of their cultural identity, their societal identity, is that they already know what's going on. They already know. Paul told them something new, and now they've taken it and owned it, and now they're telling it as if it's exactly the way that they say it is. Whether or not they're right or wrong is irrelevant because they believe themselves to be wise. They believe themselves to be right. So he's warning them. This is a warning to them saying, hey, guys, your focus is off. You got the wrong person driving you right now. You think you know what's going on, but you don't. You're letting the wrong thing control you. You're letting the wrong thing get in the way. You're letting the wrong thing contort or move your focus off of where it should be. And it reminded me of a story that... maybe some of you in this room have heard before if you've been following me around for years. But when I was in high school, so it was like last week, hey, that's not nice. No, so when I was in high school, I was really into mountain biking. And I wouldn't say I was good at it. I just liked it, right? So you ever have like one of those things you just love doing it, but you're not really good at it? Yeah, that'll factor in later. So I love mountain biking. And I lived in this place in Southern California that was right nestled against the San Gabriel Mountains. It's a mountain range that ran east to west, we ran north to south, but it was the west of me. So if you got to the top on a clear day, you'd see the Catalina Island, you could see the ocean, all that. It's gorgeous, wonderful. And on the top of this was a thing called Johnson's Pasture in our area. And on the Johnson's Pasture, this open chaparral, like kind of grass plains-y things going along the top of these hills, because they call them mountains, but they're really just hills. And there were power lines up there, and there were radio repeating stations and towers up there, and they had these service roads, which would be like a truck and a half wide, just cut into the side of these mountains or these hills going up to service all these areas. And they were a lot of fun to run on for cross country, except in the summer, and they were a ton of fun to bike down. Going up, not so much, but bike down. Because you get to the top, and the road just goes all the way down for like 6 miles back into town. It's like perfect. It's not paved, but it's like not super loose dirt. It's just, you just kind of feel like you're having fun. So I'm flying down one of these. I'm just going like, I have a helmet on, I promise. That's about the only responsible thing I was doing, because I was going way too fast, right? But I'd been on this road before, and if anybody knows, if you've done something before, you become an expert, so you can go ahead and treat it haphazardly. I was treating my safety haphazardly, and I'm going down, and this road is cut into the side of this hill, and it's going to make this 90-degree, literally 90-degree left turn as it goes around the edge of this hill. And on the left side of me, just flying by is the other part of the hill that it cut into. So it's like 15 feet cliff right on my left side, just kind of dirt, and it's flying by. And I know that when this cliff on my left side disappears, I need to make a left, because that means the road went that way, right? Like the cliff is gone, I should make a left. And on my right side, going along me is air. Because it's where it goes down in like 60 feet down into what we'll call a valley, more like a precipice inside of a rock-strewn, cactus-filled trench that's a long way down. It's not sheer, like you could fall down it and hit all of it on the way down. You won't free fall, but that's about it. That's the only thing it's got going for it. And so this is going along, and it also makes a left at the end of the road. And so I'm going down, and I've got like 200 yards before I'm hitting, but it's rapidly approaching, before I need to make the left. And I've done this before, right? I've been on this road before. I've had a ton of fun doing this. I've done it with my friends, whatnot. I know what I've got to do. This disappears, I make a left. So I'm focused, and I'm concentrating on that end. It's not you, I promise, but I'm focused. It's behind you. It's going to be a thing that I need to make sure I don't go off the end. Don't go straight, right? Go left. What should I be focused on? At least the cliff ending, or at least the turn. I'm focused on the thing I don't want to do, right? So I'm approaching rapidly, and I'm looking right at it, and I've got my focus. I'm dialed in. I'm ready. I'm amazing, right? And right when it's gone. And I'm like, all right, now's the time to make and I'm airborne at this point. Because there's a little bit of a bump at the end. It makes the left, and it's like a ramp, and you're like, oh. And in that moment, I was driven by fear. I was driven by this notion of what I didn't want to do, and it led me to a place and a space that I didn't want to go, but I was so focused on it that it was the only place I could go. It was literally the only place that I could walk, because I was so focused on not getting there that I didn't know that I should be looking at where I wanted to go. I didn't know I should be focused on a place I wanted to be, and I had put everything into my fear of, dying, as one would. And the thing is, we're not really going to talk about fear today, although that's kind of related to some of the things we are going to talk about. But there are other emotions. There are other things that we have inside of us that really kind of like to take control of the wheel, right? And like to drive for us. And they're not good at driving, right? It's like a 15-year-old who's just picked it up. Like they have no idea what's going on, but they're going to push that pedal 100% down, and they're going to make everything like this, because they don't know moderation. And some of our emotions are like that. They're either all the way on or all the way off. There's no medium ground. And I don't want to say that emotions are bad. That's not what we're saying. But emotions should never be in the driver's seat, I'll be honest. Like, we should let them influence and interpret some things for us, but we should be driving, not our emotions, because they're strong. And so if we jump into kind of on your notes, you'll see the memory verse for this week that Solomon talks about in Proverbs. He says this. He says, above all else, you need to guard your heart. Guard your heart. I want you to highlight that. Guard your heart. Like literally, if you got a highlighter, you got a pen, if you need to spit on it and just kind of wipe it just to make it stand out for you, like literally write down, guard your heart. Because everything you do, for everything you do flows from it. All over the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, even Jesus says that there are things about your heart that will influence your life, and you can do nothing about that. It is literally the guiding star of what you're going to do. And Solomon's not talking about the little emoji on your phone, right? He's not talking about that squishy organ that will keep you alive until you're about 85. He's talking about your innermost space that you trust above everything else. And so you listen to it. And whatever it tells you to do, you're very, very likely to do. And the thing about the heart is it's easily deceived, it's easily tricked. And so we, Solomon is saying, have to guard our hearts. Because if we let some influence come in and tell it something that's not true, we will wind up going and doing that thing. Because we're influenced by it. And as I said before, Proverbs is a collection of wisdoms. And so if we're thinking about not being on the road to, the road less stupid, we want to literally live like the wise. So we need to do what the wise do, and the wise seek wisdom. And so today we're going to try and learn some things about some stuff that maybe controls us maybe more often than it should. And so we need to kind of read our Bible. So we're going to be going deep, hard, and fast. And there's a lot to cover today, so I apologize if it feels like we've sort of spent short shrift on some things, but we're just going to keep moving. So today, we're going to be focusing on 3 very specific, very strong emotions that like to take control. And in your notes, the first blank you'll see is that we want to find wisdom for anxiety. Anxiety specifically can be a disorder. It can be clinical. And I do want to call out that some of the things I'm going to say today will probably be triggering. It is not on purpose. It's just the risk of having kind of a mental health day in church. Is that we're going to talk about some things that culture has a very strong opinion about or a very strong set of knowledge about. We're going to talk about some things that God says about those things. And sometimes they don't align with each other. And sometimes they inform each other. And I don't want you to get in a spot where if you feel like maybe you have an anxiety disorder, that you can just take what I say today and ignore your therapist. I do believe that professional help is actually really helpful and necessary, and God amongst this room has made some of you better at other things, and we're supposed to be in community so that we can go and find help from people who are better at some things that we're not. And the professionals in this space are really good at it. You should listen to them. So don't take anything that we say today as like, oh, well, Mike doesn't want us to get any kind of professional help. No, actually, I really do. I think it's a good idea. But there are other things that all of us, regardless of whether we have a disorder or whether we just have kind of some over-anxious worry in our lives, that we can all do, regardless of that spectrum, that will help us, that will make our lives better. And so the disclaimer out of the way, we're going to run forward, right? So the difference between clinical and not clinical, the first one is going to be anxiety. And it can be thought of as kind of 2 flavors. As I mentioned, there's the anxiety disorder. You can take pills for that. You can go through a lot of counseling pieces like that. That's a good thing to go for. But the other one is I would kind of describe it as sort of a worry, right? We would call it low grade anxiety. Maybe that's paying too much short shrift. The thing about low grade anxiety is that we can define it this way. We can say that anxiety in this way is kind of like an uncertainty or a confusion about what the future holds, right? Anxiety is uncertainty about the future, right? It's I'm looking into the future and I don't really know what's going to happen. How is that going to happen? How bad is it going to be? And then how much worse is it going to be than the thing I just thought was going to be bad? It just spirals, right? And so Paul, the guy we were talking about before, the Apostle Paul, was writing letters to all these churches in the ancient world, and specifically there was a church in another town. We're going all over the place, guys. I apologize if you're just flipping through your Bible. We're going to be in Philippians now. Paul was talking to a church in Philippi, because unlike Ephesus and Colossae, who knew everything that was going on, and they were all set to go, and they were wrong in that, the Philippians had a different problem. They were constantly looking over their shoulders, second-guessing the things that they knew. They were worried at all times about what was going on. And so Paul had to have a different word of encouragement to them that literally said this. He said, do not be anxious about anything. Don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. Now, in your Bible, if you've got that, go ahead and highlight the word anything. And right next to it, if you want to, go ahead and write any of the exceptions you think that doesn't cover, right? It's like, oh, don't worry about anything except popcorn. Got to worry about popcorn. That's not included in anything. No, anything is everything. right? Paul's saying you don't want to worry about anything. Now, what I do want to call out, like, this is not the same thing as me telling my wife, hey, don't worry. You shouldn't worry about that. It's not helpful, right? It doesn't help. This is not that. This is not Paul saying, like, hey, you can't have worry. He's saying don't let worry drive your life, and instead do this activity. By prayer, talk to God. By petition, hey, God, I've got a change request form I was going to go ahead and submit. Could you make this better for me? He actually wants that, by the way. Like, in your prayers, submit a change request form. Please do. Like, that's how we say, hey, I want something better. God's like, all right, I like that. Not saying he's going to promise that, but anyway. And then what's really interesting, what I find super interesting, you can highlight this too if you want, is by thanksgiving, right? With thanksgiving, approach God with this. It's really hard to worry about something when you're busy saying thank you for it. They don't exist in the same space. It's almost like they displace each other. Oil and water, they're not compatible. If you are giving thanks to God for the things, even the things that you're not worried about, just to help you, that grateful spirit, that grateful heart that you have in that moment will literally cast your anxiety aside. Doesn't mean it's gone, but it will cast it aside and you will be focused on gratitude. And Paul continues into verse 7. He says, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts. Go ahead and highlight that again. Will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. By doing this activity, praying, seeking God, asking for help from him, and being grateful for the things that you have, you will suddenly have a recipe for guarding your heart and your mind. It's nice. We can just we're done. We figured it out, right? I said 3 emotions, but this is all of them, you know? Easier said than done, right? Anxiety feels like the opposite of peace. How am I going to get peace? And again, it does transcend all understanding. We don't necessarily get it. Like, we're not, why do I feel so calm right now? Why is that okay? I get it. That's confusing because I'm anxious. And so I don't feel like I'm at peace. My emotions can paralyze me. But they're feelings. And they should not be in control because feelings are reactions to external stimuli happening in your life. The one in control is inside. It's you. So how do we overcome that? Let's jump back to Proverbs. Solomon says this. He says, anxiety weighs down the heart. Weighs it down, like pushes it, like literally big stone, sets it on top. He says, but a kind word cheers it up. Mikey did it again. You're just telling me, just don't worry, is not going to work, right? That's not what Solomon means here. You see, Solomon in this spot, he's saying a kind word is equivalent to love, right? And this is the love that we often like to say. Love is a verb. It's catchy, it's kind of corny to say, but it's actually kind of true because love is an activity and action that seeks the best for the object that love is being applied to, and you're that object. Right? A kind word would be coming from an external source. So somebody with love and care for your life who wants nothing but the best for you is going to be able to help lift your spirit. It's going to be able to help take some of that burden off. You can share some of that burden with them so that it becomes lighter, so that your heart is able to be lifted up because anxiety is weighing it down and you need to be lifted up. It's not saying anxiety goes away. Solomon doesn't say that. He says anxiety, true, is weighing you down. You also need love and care to lift you up. He didn't say, oh, and this will defeat anxiety. No. Anxiety you will still have, right? It's an emotion, it's a thing. You're allowed to put it in the back seat while you're driving the car. Just don't let it get in the front, right? It says that you can overcome its control of your life, but with help, with something from the outside. So what are those helps, right? Some of the things are like community. What we're doing here on a Sunday, we're gathered together to talk about the same thing, the same subject. We all focus on the same thing. So we are in community. We are common together in unity towards a single subject, and that happens to be God in this context, the saving grace of Jesus in our lives. That's community that we're experiencing right now, and that you get in small groups, and that you get in your family when you gather together with meals. It's all of those things, but it's also prayer. It's talking to God. You can do that together. You can do that individually. You can do that right now. I'm okay if you ignore me if you're praying to God. That's fine. I'm not offended by that. Probably a better use of your time. That's fine. We share our burdens, right? With trusted individuals, with people who might be more skilled than us at helping us deal with the things, the blind spots that we have, like a professional who maybe, because they're outside of the situation that we're anxious about, can actually provide us with some clarity on how to recast that in a healthy way. So how do I know what degree or what level of help that I need? I'm a preacher, so we like having alliteration, we like having lists. So when should I get help? That's the question. Well, I want to get help with the 3 Ds. The first one's duration. Is my anxiety, is my worry something that has been going on for way longer than it seems it should be? And you might be thinking, that's a second. It's longer than it should be. That's fine. That might be true for you. Some of you in here is like, I've been worrying about this for a week. I should probably talk to somebody about it. Duration. The next would be degree. How severe is it? Like literally you're like, yeah, I'm worried about the Seahawks not making or whatever it is. Again, I'm not a football person. So sorry, Devin. But at the end of the day, like that's not admittedly like a really super deep worry, but you might be worried about whether or not your kids are going to graduate. That's kind of a higher degree of worry, of anxiety, of anxiousness. And then the other one would be disruption. What do those duration and degree of anxiety do to your actual execution of life? If you're so worried that by walking outside the sun will see you and it will leave the sky so you stay inside, you have an unhealthy level of anxiety and you need help. Which might be how I operate, because I don't like the sun. It's fine. It's fine. We're okay. But this 3 Ds can help you decide. It can help you decide if your friends or the professionals are the ones that can help you. But at the end of the day, you are still going to need to be seeking help. And so I want to leave you with this key before we move on to the other ones, because we've got a lot of ground to cover and I'm admittedly going slow. The key to avoid being controlled by anxiety is to ask for help. And I want you to know that asking for help is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's not weak to ask for help. It's wise. It's necessary. You got into the space of anxiety on your own. You're not on your own. You will need help. And there is nothing wrong with that. Everybody needs help. Everyone.
You got me on this one? All right. We're changing the game. I'm going to gesticulate like this now. Okay. But we got to move. Okay, so the second emotion on your notes, we need wisdom for sadness. That was way more like, we need wisdom for sadness, guys. That probably feels a little bit more right and on task, but I don't want to be stuck into the depression, the piece of that. It's not just tears and melancholy, right? We know that. Like, this can wander into actual depression, and that's another trigger word, admittedly. Like, we have real clinical depression, chemical imbalances that happen within us that do require extreme external intervention by professionals and by probably pharmacology and all sorts of other things I don't understand. So, grain of salt, everything I just said. But the reality is, like, we all can experience sadness. In fact, many of you think I just said something really dumb and obvious because, yeah, of course we all experience sadness. We can all experience the melancholy feel of like, I just don't feel like today's going to be a great day. That's not a worry. That's a defeat, right? Like, you're not anxiety. You don't have anxiety about that. You're literally just, you're defeated, right? And that there's varying levels of this that impact our lives. But at the very root, the core of what sadness is that it is a recognition within your spirit that something or someone valuable to you is going to be not available. It's going to be gone, either taken from you or it's being withheld from you. And so our sadness comes from this recognition that something that we value, something that we really want, something that we might even need is going to be withheld or even permanently taken away from us. And so we get the emotion of sadness, which can come out in a whole bunch of flavors. And Solomon even talks about this. He talks about it in Proverbs 13:12. I think it's in your notes. He says, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Now, what does he mean by that? Because I was talking about sadness, and at no point did I say hope, and I didn't talk about heart sickness. I talked about melancholy and depression. So what do we mean by that? Well, the thing about hope deferred is that hope is your trust in the things that are going to come into the future. And the longer that is staved off, the longer that it takes for some sort of a hope to be fulfilled in your life, the more sick your heart will get. And that heart sick is that sadness. It's that depression. It's that melancholy. It's that feeling of it's just not going to happen. It's just not worth it. Everything is blue, dabba-dee, dabba. Okay, don't do that. Some of you from the 90s got that. Okay, I heard it. The thing is, it drives our heart. When we are sad, just like anxiety, it drives our heart. It focuses our attention away from the exact opposite of it, which is joy. The opposite of sadness, by the way, is not happiness. Happiness is a fleeting thing. It's a lot like these emotions. They're fleeting. They're reactions to things going on. But joy is a deep-seated thing that actually happens to your heart, and it's how you look at the world. And so sadness takes our focus away from the joy that we could have in our heart and has us driving down the road and just looking at just parking by the side and just turning it off and not even going to work today. Sadness is a terrible driver, an awful driver of our life. And I do want to kind of lean a little bit into the depression piece of that, but I'm going to define it very narrowly because I don't want us to go way off on like actual like imbalances. I just want to say like depression in this scenario is a loss of faith in the future. Right? It's a loss of, and what is faith? Faith is not blind, just like, oh, I wish and I hope. No. Faith is literally a reason to trust for something that was promised, right? You have faith in a thing because you have a reason to trust. You have a reason to trust that promise, so you have faith in it. And so it's a loss of that faith in the future. And as Solomon said, it's because it's been deferred, and so your heart is starting to get sick. And so you need something to be fulfilled in that space in order for you not to be sick. In order to avoid sadness, you need it to be fulfilled. But what if it's something that can never be given back to you? Well, that tends to come from a little bit of a perspective issue. Because sometimes there are things that are taken from us that make us sad that will never be able to come back. And sometimes there are things that we want that we should not want and would be bad for us. And so in God and his goodness is keeping it from us on purpose. And both of those things don't feel good to us. Both of those things feel like sadness. They can feel like depression. They can feel like hopelessness. And it can make us look into the future and say, what's even the point? What's the point? And so depression can be unmet expectations, right? It can have a flavor of unmet. It's like, I really want the promotion, or I really want kids, but we just can't have them. Or maybe it's a scholarship that you're hoping for. It can be grief, which is kind of a self-explanatory one, right? We lost somebody, grief and loss. It can be a health condition, like a physical malady or an injury that's happened to you. And now the future looks way different than it did before. And so you have now lost what your understanding of the future was. It has changed. You're not going to get it back. And so you experience sadness from that. It can be undealt with anger, which is exhausting. Ever try to be angry for a very long time? It's exhausting. It's frustrating. We're going to talk more about anger in a minute. That's the third one. But sadness is a type of mourning, right? It's a type of recognizing that there's a loss. And so there's a really big, wonderful, awful thing that we were given by God as a tool to deal with loss, to help us move from a sadness perspective back towards a joy one, but we got to go through it in order for it to happen, and it's called mourning. To be in mourning, to go through grief, to go through the stages of grief. It's necessary because we have to be able to say goodbye. We have to be able to say goodbye. When something leaves, when something dies, or when something is taken or is destroyed or something like that, it can't come back. And if we're not willing to actually say goodbye to that thing, to deal with the emotion in that moment, then what we do is we start living as if it's still there or it's still going to be there, and that's called a delusion. And a delusion is a heart sickness. Remember what Solomon said? If we're not willing to say goodbye, if we're not willing to open our hands to things, to be willing to let go of things, then we hold on too tight and our heart gets sick. So to help us remember about mourning, and I know we're moving quick, I'm sorry. The key for sadness in this very limited Sunday morning is that mourning is hard. It's hard. Nobody wants to go through it. I don't want to go through mourning. But it ultimately is good for your soul. Mourning is necessary. You have to be able to say goodbye. You have to be able to experience what you have lost. You need to be able to recognize that thing, bring it right up in the front, be able to have confront it in a way. You should not do it alone. We need community. All of these are related by being in community with each other as we focus on the joy of God and the peace that can descend upon us without any understanding on our side, because we did prayerfully approach him and we were thankful to him for the things that we did have, even though we now have to say goodbye to them. It's necessary, it's hard, but it moves us back towards health. And so like anxiety, when we seek help for this, it's not weakness, it's wisdom. If you're experiencing an unreasonably long amount of sadness or depression, seek help. Use the 3 Ds, seek help for that. It is not weakness to seek help. It's wisdom. We all want to be healthy. And all too often, we cannot do it on our own, but we believe we can. It's stubborn. That's what we are. I'm stubborn. So anyway, I'm flying through the air. Right, I've hit this berm. I know it's whiplash, right? I was almost experiencing that. I'm flying through the air. I believe I can. It's a whole thing. And it's like, seriously, because I had to walk back up it. That's a spoiler alert, I survived. It's like 50 plus feet down, right? And as I mentioned at the bottom, I don't know if you guys are taking notes about my story. There's rocks at the bottom. Like San Gabriel's are a fault line thing, so there's volcanic-like rocks down there. So they're not nice soft soapstones. No, it's like basaltic pebbles that are, and like crenellations. It's awful. It all looks deadly, and I'm flying towards it. Thankfully, I hit the bank about halfway down. Now, again, I mentioned before I was not a professional mountain biker, so I was not good at landing after 20-foot drops. So I landed, and then I landed again, and the bike continued to land, and we both landed over and over and over again down this hill into the bottom, where the cactus cushioned my fall from the rocks. Thank you, God. I had an opportunity to get upset, right? I had just flown down a hill, and then off that hill, and then down the hill again. One of those was in control. I had an opportunity to be upset. I had an opportunity to let anger drive, right? But here's the thing about this third one, and I gave it away already, but I'm still learning how to deal with this. This, out of the three of these today, this is the one I struggle with the most. So it's going to be a lot of me's and my's and I's coming forward. I apologize. If you wanted to take over this one, you're welcome to, because it's not comfortable. I don't like dealing with anger, because I need to know how to have wisdom for anger. Right? I think all of us in here should probably need to know how to have wisdom for anger. And it's not that anger, you're not allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be angry. It's an emotion that we were given in our toolbox of things that we can pull out and say, oh, that wasn't good. No, not depression. No, I'm not happy about it. Anger. Yeah, pull that one out. We're going to use it, right? So anger is a thing that we're allowed to have. We just can't let it drive. The problem is anger is better at driving than anxiety is. Anger is way better at driving than depression is. Anger will actually get you to the destination you were trying to drive towards with anger. It's just going to do it and then run through the front door with it, right? You're just, because the only thing anger is going to do is destroy. And this is partly due to the power of it. Like, why do I enjoy being angry? I know it sounds stupid, and maybe that's a really unhealthy thing. I'm on the road. Anyway, so the thing about anger, and unless maybe you've never been angry in your life, is that there's a power in it. There's an energy in being angry. It was made to kind of give us an opportunity to like laser focus in on the thing that we want to fix, quote unquote, with our anger. And we have a lot of sudden actual physical strength that can come out of that. The testosterone boost, there's literally like a leaning forward of like, oh yeah, let's fight. Like, let's do this thing, right? So there's a power there. And along with that, it's a convincing of just how right you are. Right? When I'm angry, I'm also right. Right, Aaron? Yeah, all of you get it, right? Like, especially the guys in here, because I can only kind of speak from our perspective. But when you're angry, do you feel right about what you're angry about? Anybody feel like, I'm angry and I can't believe how wrong I am about this? No, that comes like after you've had a talking to, and hopefully by your mom, because she's right. No, Solomon warns us about this, right? Anger turns into rage, right? And so he says this in Proverbs, because we're in Proverbs again. So he says, "Fools give full vent to their rage." Roar, right? I'm at the bottom of the hill, and I'm just starting to steam in pieces, right? No, they give full vent to their rage. But the wise, they do something really interesting to situations. They bring calm. They bring calm to it. It doesn't say that they don't get angry. It says that in the end, they bring calm, a peace. How do they bring that peace? Well, they pray, they petition God, they have thanksgiving for that. Anyway, we went through that. Wisdom brings calm, which suspiciously looks like God's peace, right? Remember what Paul said about that? God's peace? Anyway, we won't go backwards. Control of the wheel that you give to anger does not lead to the result that your anger is convincing you that it will. Like, oh yeah, you give me control of the wheel, buddy, we're going to fix this. No, it leads to destruction. It will destroy just about everything that you are angry about, that you are angry and trying to protect and try to fix and all these things. The fire of rage consumes everything in this path, including the one who's on fire. And some of us are way too easy to trigger. We have a short circuit, a temper. In fact, we're going to call that today the rage circuit, right? The rage circuit activates when there is a threat or even a perceived threat. Might not be a real threat. The rage circuit activates when you are feeling like your life or your limbs are threatened. I mean, you look at this list, it's kind of obvious, right? Of course I'm going to get angry about somebody attacking my family. Of course I'm going to get angry about somebody taking my resources and my territory or my position at work or all these things. Of course I'm going to get angry about something that God gets angry about, and it's a threat to justice. I'm going to get angry about injustice. Of course I am. I should get angry about these things. It is a tool I was given to help me deal with these things with an extra shot of energy and an extra shot of mental clarity in a moment. But I was never meant to allow anger to drive. It's a tool. The tool does not decide what the tool makes. The person wielding the tool decides what the tool makes. And if I let it stay in the driver's seat, I'm going to reap only destruction. Anybody ever been angry and kicked something? Yeah, it's okay. You can raise your hand. Like, this is participatory, right? I was angry once. I stubbed my toe. Little piece of the concrete by the pool sticking up. I don't know if anybody's ever done that. And I kicked it after I stubbed my toe because I was angry. I almost broke the toe that I was angry about having been threatened. Like, you threatened my toe. Sometimes we get angry about really silly things, and we do really stupid things with that silliness. Anybody been mad at injustice? Anybody? Anybody committed a sin to get revenge on that injustice? Don't raise your hand for that. That's what we do, right? Like, outside of the anger, it makes perfect sense why that would be dumb. It's okay. We got the word up here on the screen. You can use it. Stupid. Outside of the event, outside of the anger, it makes sense. We have perfect clarity on the outside, but man, on the inside, whoa. Of course I'm going to burn their house down because they cut me off in traffic. That makes sense. I didn't do that, okay? Didn't even think it. The point is, anger is about losing control of the past. Right? Something happened. It's a response to external stimuli. Something happened to me. That's the past. That's the thing I can't do anything about. So I lost control. I never had it. I lost control of that. And so now my anger is a fear or the need to alter and control the future. My anger is recognizing I've lost control, and now it's trying to regain control of something that will happen. All of these emotions we're talking about today deal with things in the future, right? We had an uncertainty about the future. We had a depression or a lack of hope of the future. And this one's about controlling the future. They're all related. It's why they want to drive. Because the one steering the car is heading to the future. And so these emotions are like, I got this. I know what I'm doing. And they hop in, and then they white-knuckle that steering wheel, and they won't let it go. We have a need to control the future, but the thing is, we don't control the future. Some of us, me probably, will need to learn that when I'm 60, right? It's going to take me a long time to realize I don't control the future because, man, I try really hard right now. I try really hard right now to control the future. I've been doing that since I was born. When I let anger control my life, it leads to destruction. It destroys. I'm angry about a relationship. My anger just destroys the relationship I was angry about trying to protect. That's what it does. And so I'm at the bottom of this hill. This gully, that's the word I wanted, a gully, full of rocks. There's probably snakes, I don't know. I can make this story way worse. It's already bad enough because I was stupid. And I landed in the cactus, just full on. And it's those like little, like, you know, those like pillow ones that are like connected to each other and like just kind of go off. And they got those needles that are about that long, right? And my mountain bike has a slightly tacoed wheel now because it hit a rock. The cactus didn't help my bike. And it has 2 stickers in its wheel, or in its tire, so not only is it bent, but it's flat. So I'm going to be walking this bike home. And remember, I was miles away from home. And I'm crawling out of the cactus, and I have no injuries. I don't have a scrape. I think I'm dirty, because I just tumbled through dirt. I don't have a scrape. I have no contusions, no bruises. I don't even have cactus needles in me. I landed in the cactus. Literally had to push off the cactus to get up. No cactus needles in me. And my response was obviously gratitude. I was so thankful. Not only was I was an atheist at that time, so definitely I was thankful to God. No, my response was really, really pissed. Look at my bike. I just escaped like probably one of the worst injuries I would have ever had in my life with nothing. And I'm upset that I've got to walk my bike home, that I even have a bike that I can still walk home. It was reparable. I literally fixed the wheel the next day, so not that big a deal. I was upset. I probably would have kicked the cactus and then gotten a sticker in me. Our anger leads us to places that literally, it's a terrible driver. Don't do it. And Paul warns us about how unsilly the results of anger can be. He says this to that same church in Ephesus who thinks they know everything, right? He says, in your anger, don't sin. Don't sin. Do not let the sun go down while you're angry. You ever heard that? Like, don't go to bed when you're arguing with your spouse? Like, don't. Don't let the sun go down when you're angry. And do not give the devil a foothold. What are the results of letting anger control you? You give the devil a foothold. What are the results of letting your rage get out of control, take the wheel, and start driving that car? You give the devil a foothold in your life. And what is a foothold? It is literally the first part of what you dig in the dirt so that you can lay a foundation so that he can build a stronghold inside of you. And strongholds are very hard to overcome. If we let our anger control us, we literally give the devil a lease on land inside of our hearts. Oh, that doesn't sound good at all. What do? Paul continues, he says, get rid of all bitterness. Get rid of it. Don't be bitter about things. Let it go. Get rid of rage and anger. Brawling, don't do that. Don't fight. Don't slander. Don't say mean things. Don't gossip about people. And along with every other form of malice, that's literally like a bad feeling toward something. It's an evil feeling toward something. Now, some of you are reading that, and you're thinking, oh, there goes my Saturday. But each one of that laundry list destroys every single one of it. And Paul told us what not to do. He told the Ephesians what not to do. So what do we do? Well, he actually continues later on in the same letter, and he says, be kind. What's the opposite? It's be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave us. Underline that word forgive or highlight it for you. Forgiving, right? Forgive. Make that stand out for you. Because the answer to anger is forgiveness. I should have forgiven that concrete thing that stubbed my toe. It doesn't have the ability to receive my forgiveness, but I have to forgive it. Because the thing about forgiveness is it's not the one that you're forgiving that benefits from it. It's you. We are called to be a forgiving people because we need to be healthy. And we can't be healthy if we're stuck in rage, if we're stuck in anger, if we're stuck in a space where we are holding on so tight that we don't even allow ourselves to grow. Forgiveness allows us to let go and to start growing again. Forgiveness is for you. It's for the forgiver. We are called to forgive. It does help the people that we're forgiving because now they know we're not mad at them. But it helps us more because now we're not on fire. We're not being consumed. Is it easy to forgive? No. I'm mad. I'm angry. Guess who's at the wheel? Right? It's not easy to forgive. Is it necessary? Oh, you bet. If you want to live, if you want to survive, it is necessary to forgive. If you want to have relationships, it is necessary to forgive, to let go, to move on. Completely necessary. You cannot grow without forgiveness. You can't do it. And not only that, your anger is kind of ridiculous. I mean, I know mine is. Like James, the brother of Jesus, he said this in James 1:19. He said, human anger doesn't lead to righteous living. God's not impressed by it. We can get angry about things. We're allowed to. God's not impressed by it. We feel powerful and amazing, but our power tries to push him out of the way because it's not compatible with his power. We separate ourselves if we let it control us from God. And so the thing about anger, the thing that's so important for us to remember is these last blanks in your notes. And is that anger is designed to go through us, but it is not designed to take root in us. I think I said that different than how your notes are. Yeah, pass through us, take root in us if you're filling that out. Same truth. You are meant to have that as a tool so that you can be focused, so that you can make razor clarity decisions, but is not meant to be in charge. It is something that you can allow to pass through you, but don't let it stay. Don't let it stay. You can experience it, all the emotions we talked about and more. You can experience them. They are valid responses to the external, the many stimuli this world throws at us, but you can't let any of them control the wheel. Because if you do, it leads to a place you didn't want to go, flying through the air, over a cliff, down into a gully, maybe not your story, but mine. Don't let it be in control. And so today, as we're kind of wrapping up this portion, I think we continue this series next week, but as we're wrapping up this portion, I want to make a call out, because some of the things that have helped me, right? As I mentioned, I was an atheist when I was younger. And so some of the things that have helped me was that finally getting to know Jesus started to let me understand some of the areas that I had control over myself, and then the other areas that I actually had no control over. It allowed me to understand something about the world, and that is that there's a real spiritual battle going on in every single one of us. We are a battlefield where heaven and hell are raging a war. They've already lost, but they just keep fighting. I don't know if you've ever seen that with your toddler, right? Like, they just keep fighting. They've lost, right? Like, and so we're a battlefield in a place where we have external influences, and then ourselves, sometimes we betray ourselves and we let the devil in. We let him take a foothold inside of us. And so by inviting Jesus into my life, I suddenly was granted a perspective on life that changed everything. And it started a process of me walking into growth, walking into life, because the giver of life, I let him into my life. I let him in. And he started ransacking the place, tearing down stuff that I had built up that wasn't healthy for me, wasn't good for me. And that was at 19. And I'm like under 60. 43, sorry. Some of you were like, I'm not that old, okay? And he's constantly and consistently doing a work in my life. And I can remember the first section of that time period where I was reborn from 19 to about 27, you know? so a while, 8 years of time, where he didn't work on any of my really, really bad addictions. Didn't touch them. And then suddenly one day I woke up and was like, oh, I've been doing that wrong. And the thing was, the reason that he wasn't working on it at the beginning is because I didn't have the tool set. I hadn't grown strong enough. I hadn't grown in reliance upon him enough in order to handle those things until then. And that's what God wants to do in every single one of you. Every single person in here, whether you know him or not, he is doing a work in you. He just needs permission. You might think your laundry list is too long for him to handle. It's not. It just takes time. But in every single person in here, he wants to be invited in, to walk with you through the process of dealing with anxiety, dealing with sadness, dealing with anger, dealing with rage and fear and everything else that we can think of, dealing with life. He wants to be a part of it. He gave it to you to share it with you. And so if we can bow our heads right now, I want to pray us out of this message before we get to the next section. And I want to encourage you that if this is your first time experiencing what God has in store for you, what God could have for you. If you're somebody who doesn't have a relationship with Jesus, if that's you today, I would like to pray for you specifically with you, if you'll allow me. And so, Father God, I pray that today is the day, Lord, that in our hearts, that we're able to open them up and to receive you, God, that we're able to acknowledge that we don't have it all put together. It's not a thing that we can handle on our own, God, but with you, I really believe that change can be made, God, that update can be made, that I can finally get into a growth stage of my life, God. I'm praying that you would come and invade my space, God, that you would kick the devil out of any place that he has set up a foothold, any place that he is trying to build his stronghold, God, that you would fire his contractors and you would evict him, God. And that I would make a space for you in my heart, God, that you would be the one guiding me. And so if that's a prayer that you're willing to pray this morning, you can go ahead and silently, if you want, say amen. And for the rest of us, God, I just want to be thankful for the time that we have to gather on a Sunday, God, that we have this family of brothers and sisters who are all pointing in the same direction, God, that we would be focused on you, Lord. I pray that you continue to make yourself obvious to us, God, that we would never lose sight of the blessings and the various things that you have in store for us, God, as we trust you with our futures, God. And I pray just a great blessing over this church, God, that you would continue